3, 2, 1. We're back with episode 53.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm low riding today. Probably should tilt the camera down just a hair, but honestly, I don't know. I think if I'm cut off, it's fine.
Well, let's see real quick.
Well,
Hold
I
on.
mean,
if you're good, you're good. Oh, you're good.
oh yeah, we're testing out the new studio here. Got the workout in this morning. So we're playing with it. We got all this new equipment and things and trying to get video back for you guys listening on YouTube and Facebook. But there's going to be some growing pains as we learn this stuff because none of us are technology wizards.
No, it's definitely outside our wheelhouse.
Like this morning, we got a mixer and mics and all that good stuff, and I had to order a piece to go from the mixer to the laptop. The world may view it differently, but technology, 2 male parts do not work.
Nope.
So I'm gonna have to reorder that. So that was a learning experience.
Always have a backup though. We got a backup plan.
We got a backup plan. We always have plan B, plan C, especially now when we've got multiple different things that we've recorded with over the last year.
Oh yeah,
so.
multiple locations and everything else.
Yeah.
And
so hopefully this is home.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the spot. So excited to bring you guys some of the things that we're going to do in the new year. Obviously the book coming out. We've got a signing at Milk and Honey in Mattoon on the 25th at the coffee shop. But some of the episodes this year, probably post Arnold, we're really looking at getting some guests in.
Yep.
You know, working out with them before we record, doing all that good stuff. So it'll be a good time. So it's been Adam's not here. He's at UPS loading, and they're at 1:45.
Yeah, still playing catch up from last week's snowstorm and everything else. So
yeah. So how's the snow been for you and getting into? It's hard to get into a routine in the new year when all of a sudden you get hit with like 14 inches in a week.
Yeah. Monday threw us off just because nobody could really get anywhere on Monday.
Right.
Tuesday was back to normal. Luckily, the problems have been minimal.
Yeah.
Outside. So, but then Friday with all that snow, I headed down to Effingham and luckily got to work inside.
Nice.
Got to a location, stayed put till later in the afternoon when everything had stopped and the road crews had been out and plowed everything off. So it was a little slick coming home Friday afternoon on the highway, but just slow and steady, no big deal. So it's been pretty normal really for the most part.
Nice. I like it. It's been a crazy. Somehow I still shovel the old school I went to here in town.
Yeah.
Since I was in college. So the last few years haven't been bad. Like, got to go salt this morning, make it to the gym. The last week has been like, wow, okay, I see why I'm on. Some years it's light, other years it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been Saturday. And it's always hit, like, it feels like it's been hitting on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fun, going and shoveling. But Asher loved the snow, went out and sledded yesterday and all that good stuff. So I think it's fun to see, like, as adults, we view the snow and it's like, oh, that's pretty. And then it becomes like
a nuisance
or like, you know, and for kids, he just likes the snow. Like, he's just excited there's snow. He's not upset that there's snow. And I think that's one of those things. Kids can roll with the punches a little better. Like, I've never seen any kid, like, at least my kids, complain about the snow. Like,
unless
you have adults.
Unless it touches them. If it
Right.
touches them, it's the end of the world.
Right. But in terms of, like, sitting in the house and being like, I hate the snow, I want to get, they don't know what.
Yeah.
So
I got Colt out Thursday night and we played for a half hour, 45 minutes. And the joy in his face and everything else just made me happy because I was like, as much as I hate the snow, being outside playing with him and getting to have fun with him, I was like, well, it's not that bad.
Right.
Till Friday when it comes down again. I'm like, I hate this crap.
Yeah, it's like 1 snow's good, 2 snows is bad, 3 snows, we're ready to move. Yeah, that's great. Well, I do have some dad beef. We got to address this on the podcast so we can make some changes. Whoever invented Hot Wheels tracks was not thinking about kids.
Why is that?
They had, like, Asher got this Hot Wheels thing for his birthday, and he wanted to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, like, 5+. And I'm like, he's 4, it'll be fine. There's no way a 5-year-old can put that thing together.
No. It's for them to. It's 5 and old for them to play with.
Yeah,
not for them to put together.
No, it took me it was like this thing where you had to use the the crate. It comes in, goes up,
Yeah,
and it creates like a ramp, and then it goes down. You had to use the lid to the box to connect it, and the connectors are like these little clips. Oh my gosh! And I got all the way done, and then it's just the starter kit. So it wants you to buy more so you can complete the track.
Of course.
I was like, come on, dude. I was like, this is crazy. Asher just kept asking me, is it ready? Is it ready? I'm like, no. He's like, can I help? I was like, yeah, here, hold this. He'd help for like 30 seconds and then go off and play with something else. And I'm like, sitting there being like, this connector won't work. It turns the wrong way. Oh, it's a different piece. It's the same color.
Yep.
It's the same length.
And then by the time you're done, he's like, I don't want to play with it anymore.
Yeah. So it takes up his entire room, like from one side to the other, because it's just so many straights. And Ramey's like, we should probably pick that up. And he's, no. It stays. So now we have to like dance around it every day. But but I got beef with, I think it's Mattel that makes Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
You guys need to make these. You can't make it there. We have car tracks that he has that go together way easier.
Oh yeah.
Like the old train track table.
Yeah. Yep.
He can do that. He cannot put together Hot Wheels. Yes.
Yep.
No. Either. I was sitting there Saturday night being like, I'm gonna write Hot Wheels a very detailed email.
Yeah, that's Colt got some Dino Lego thing, and for a 4-year-old, again, they shouldn't be the little bitty Legos.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let me put these together for you, because it's page by page. And you got to have this one and that one, and then when you get done, there's extra pieces. You're like, I swear I follow the instructions to the T. Where are these extra pieces from? And it's like, and then. You know how they are. They're rough with them.
Oh, yeah.
So then they fall apart. Yep. Put this back together. Yep. I'm like, I don't know where that came off of.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I think we become dads and we think about, all the things that we want to do in terms of language and raising them up and being there. And then there's these little things that you're like, I didn't know I needed like an engineering degree to be a dad. Like, we'll just keep with the dad beef. Like, question for the listeners. Do boxes annoy you? Like Christmas Day, you open up the box and you get the back, like you cut the tape and then you open it up and there's like metal zip ties and twist screws and you're like, oh, these are supposed to be easy, so you just twist that screw and it doesn't come out and then it's stuck in there and then you're like,
your kid's screaming, I want to play with it,
and you're like, hey, it's gonna take a second, and then you're trying not to go to the ER because you're trying to use a pocket knife to cut plastic pieces. Yeah, I'm like, I did see this crazy thing, which I don't know if there's joy for kids in waiting for you to open it. But this dad on Facebook, the night before Christmas, opened all the boxes and just wrapped the toys. I was like, that's not a bad idea, because then when they open it, it's already ready to play with. Yeah.
But with that, then it's just easy access. There's no, like you said, there's no joy, delayed gratification.
Yes, right.
Them like
being like, can you open it? Like half of that's that joy when they run over with the box and they're like, open this. And then Asher's like, we need batteries, big ones. I'm like, AAAs aren't big, buddy. But
and it can delay for you, too, because then you can be like, well, here, I got this one open for you. Go play with it.
Yeah, and then we can
slowly work into it. And then, okay, when you're done with that one, then I'll have another one. And
that's a good call. I like that. Oh, man. So, without Adam, he's throwing me off. Adam's usually here with the red shorts and the black hoodie, and it's throwing me off. But looking at kind of get back to the routine of how we were rolling last year. What are you currently reading?
Reading Andy's book right now. I'm about 3/4 of the way done. I'm right in the middle of the 75 hard program.
Okay, so what do you think about Andy's book? Because we've ran this program for a year. We did 75 hard. For the listeners, we're doing 75 hard again starting March 10th, but we're going to open up a Dads Do 75 Hard Facebook page through Operation Dad, try to get back to the roots of why we started the podcast a little bit. But like Adam says, forwards thinking, backwards planning, we realized it would be really bad to be on 75 hard at the Arnold.
Yeah.
So, and that would have been like...
definitely test our mental toughness.
Right. Well, we're already looking at like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So we thought, let's bring people in, let's create a community. And so we can do it together, and people can sign up at the Arnold, and we can do it that way. But Did you find the book to be, for me, like I felt like I knew a lot of the stuff. Like I was like, okay, it felt like it was a culmination of like the 75 hard book with some stuff sprinkled in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're kind of the part in the book where it was like, got this.
Yeah. I'm at the part where he's in the middle of the program talking about the different levels. So like day 1 through 6, you get that euphoria feeling like you can take on the world.
Yeah.
And then 8 through whatever, and then like through day 21, that's where the cockiness kicks in. And
yeah,
this is where most people fail, because they just think they've got this moral victory over the program and they can do anything, and then they're like, they get lazy with it because the cockiness kicks in, and that's when they fail because they didn't take a picture or something like that. So, I mean, I can see it. I mean, we've all been through it.
Oh, yeah.
So you know the feelings of that first week where you're just riding this high of just, oh, it's teaching me so much. And then week 2, you're like, I want harder things. Like I'm figuring things out. I'm time managing much better. And then it's like, okay, yeah. So like I said, we've all been there. We've all done it. I'm waiting to get to the last half of the program to see where he describes, the like we call it the dog days,
right?
Like weeks or days like 50 to 60,
yeah,
where you're really like in it, and you're like, I've got this down. Why do I have to keep doing
this? But you're so far from the end.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I just I took a little shift in my books, so I actually got it last night. I was doing a lot of like the the personal development, like leadership style books and things, and at times those are really good, but at other times they kind of become like repetitive.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to mix this up, and so I'm really interested in keeping with the nonfiction. I'm like interested in history, like you did those. So there's this book called now I just got it, so bear with me. It's like a collection of all the presidents and looking at like their presidencies, starting with Washington all the way through the leading up to the 2024 election. And I just read Washington last night, but it was interesting to see, like, we view those founding fathers as like incredible people. And we view the nation as like, man, it was founded on such like strong rooted. And I never realized through all of my history classes in high school and college and things that like right after Washington took office, they had to decide how they were going to pay off all the debt from the war. We started in debt, right?
Yep.
And so he didn't want to get involved in foreign affairs, which ticked some people off because they wanted to go help the French against England. He was like, no. So then you had that. Well, then you had Jefferson versus Alexander Hamilton, Jefferson wanted states' rights, and Hamilton wanted a larger federal government. So even from day one, we had this like divide.
Yep.
And they decided to tax whiskey. So they put a tax on whiskey, and that ticked off the farmers farther west, because their crops were like getting destroyed trying to come east.
Yeah.
And so they were whiskey producers. And when they taxed it, they were like rebelling. And so there's this whiskey rebellion in Pittsburgh. And Washington at 62 gets on his horse, rides out with the militia, basically just tells them like, you guys got to stop. They were tarring and feathering tax collectors. They were burning tax collectors' houses down. And he just rode out at 62, like on his horse with his sword. Was like, stop. And that just kind of blew my mind. That from day one, we had to go take the national, like you think of it like, oh, we started and everything was perfect. So that's kind of where it's given a cool background of like the things that they dealt with that you don't necessarily see. So I'm excited to keep rolling. They prefaced it with like, there were some very noble presidents, and then there were some really presidents that battled with a lot of like not being noble or being drunks or all those things. So it'll be cool, and kind of excited to give a little snippet of history each week.
I'll say my next one, it's like 365 days something. I sent it to you guys.
Oh, the Daily Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Daily Dad. I did that one last year. It's cool. It's really cool. Gosh, who's it by? Daily Dad.
It's the Stoicism Ryan Williams?
Yes, yeah, Ryan Williams. Not to be confused with the freshman wide receiver at Alabama.
Yeah.
Different guy.
Yeah. Different background for sure.
Yeah, so, but no, that's awesome. Yeah, excited. I don't know what my next book's going to be. I know right now a big part of what I'm reading is the Bible in a year. So we're going through that with the teens, and then going through the New Testament with the teens, and then the full Bible with the staff and elders at church. And it's cool because we're breaking down. When I've read the Bible in the past in a year, it's been like chronologically.
Yeah.
So it's like start in Genesis.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and it's tough. And so this plan we read like Monday is epistles, which is like the letters to the church in the New Testament, and then it jumps back to history, which is like, your Genesis through Numbers and Deuteronomy, and then it goes to the gospel, and then it goes to the poetry, and then it goes to Psalms, and then it goes to those kind of things. So you're getting like each week you're getting like this broad painted picture of like how everything kind of connects. So I'm enjoying this one a little more because it's not just sitting there reading like I've read Genesis a lot, so it's like usually when I start that chronologically, it's like the first 5 books. You're like, whew.
Mine is I get a little bit of, so I have like usually 2 chapters of Genesis, 1 or 2 chapters of Matthew.
Yeah,
and then and then it ends with either Psalms or Proverbs.
Nice. Yeah,
so
that's a good plan.
I get
too.
a little mixture in it. So
yeah,
normally I read before I come to the gym, but since we
started at 4,
bumped the time a little bit, I didn't have time this morning, so I'll have to make sure when we get done, I get home and like Jeremy does, first thing in the morning, get it done. Because like Josh said the other day, like if you don't plan and if you're not intentional with it first thing, like it'll get away from you, and then you'll end up just not doing it because something else will come up that you think, and then you're like, oh, I don't have time, and yeah,
right. Well, going back, like kind of connecting the Bible readings and our kids, like so when Asher goes down at night, we've got this routine where like we read 2 books and then sing and then lay him down. Well, he always tries to find these huge books, and a lot of times you can like be like, all right, I'm gonna paraphrase here.
Yeah.
But he grabbed his like first Bible, like the child's first Bible, and I was trying to explain to him, like, dude, this has like 80 pages. Like we can't read every story. He was like, but it's a book. And I'm like, dude, so we're gonna read 3 stories, and then we're gonna set it next to your bed, like, and then we'll read 3 tomorrow, and we'll keep going. And so we did creation, Adam and Eve, and Noah's Ark last night, and then he turned the page, and it was gosh, which one was it? It was the start of like Moses, and he was like, who's that guy? And so it was cool. Like I'm like, we were gonna read that one tomorrow, but like now he's starting to like kind of like he knows that's gonna be like a thing that we start. So I'm excited because I'm like, oh, good job, dude. Like this will be fun. So he's gonna get those stories each night before bed and things like that. So it's that was cool, and that's something I'm glad that like he picked out. Like obviously just trying to get the biggest book, but like in the same way, now it's something that's going to become anything that we start with him that's a routine, it will now continue forever. So that's the nice thing. If we can get him in a routine, he will not be able to function unless he does this routine. So that's a lot of his mom in him. That's not me. Yeah, that is his mom, where it's got to be the same, schedule. So yeah, that's good. I think I'll ask Adam this next week, but I guess looking at, we're at the day where, let's see, it's January 12th, 13th. This is like the famous Monday where everyone fails their resolutions. So what are you most excited for in the new year that you're looking forward to? Because obviously I've got belief in us that those resolutions or those goals will continue. So I think it's good to remind ourselves like why we are doing them. So what are you most excited for this year as you continue in what your goals and things are?
So yesterday, Kelsey had a girl over and was doing her nails. And that is my like driving force this year, is getting everything taken care of that I can to let her do her thing, because I know that's what she loves to do. So just seeing her there yesterday, just talking and interacting with this girl, and I like with the biggest smile on her face, because she just loves being able to do that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
just looking forward to everything that I can do, hell or high water, to put her in a spot where it'll benefit her in the long run, which if it helps her, then it helps me, which helps the family and everything else. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is putting in the work to help her achieve what she ultimately wants to do.
That's awesome, because, you know, a year ago we were undertaking something that was new and, you know, trying to build something. So now you get to go to her and say, okay, you want to build this, and like, this is something that you want to do and break away from your normal 9 to 5 and grow this. And so now you get to kind of go, you helped me for a year. Like, now this is up off the ground a little bit, and now we're going to use that to help you. That's the cool thing is, you know, when you talk about generational change, it doesn't just have to be your kids. It can start now in the house. And that's something that, you know, I think a lot of us can be fearful of, because we've talked about it before. Like, society says it's good. It is good to work a 9 to 5 and to provide. In the same way, if you can find a way to do that around a passion, and then I love the model that like Corey lays out, like, work the side hustle until it can take over the main. So, and Kelsey's doing that now. And so it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years, but you continue to work that side hustle and grow it. Eventually it can take the place of, you know, the main job, the current job. So that'll be fun. And it helps to have the support, like you helping her and supporting her. Like, you know nothing about nails. I don't have any. So like, that's totally new for us, but we can align and empathize with that. Like, I'm passionate about this. And so you can see, just because you're not passionate about it, I think passion is a universal language. Like, we know what it feels to be passionate.
Well, she'll tell you. Every time she starts something new, I'm like, what are you doing? How do you do that? Because it's new, and I like to see, like, and she's creating these wild designs and techniques, and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And she's just like, you're really interested in this. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. I like to learn and see how this. Not that I'm ever going to go do somebody's nails, but I just like to see. All
right, there it is. Stop by the Arnold booth, 1447. Vince will be doing nails.
It's just the something that can go from nothing into this. I said she's painted clocks, and
that's crazy. It's a blank canvas, but it's just like it's half an inch.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And all the work that she puts into it. I mean, she does her own, and it's one thing to do your non-dominant hand with your dominant hand, but then to switch it and do your dominant hand, and to be more just as detailed with your non-dominant hand. Like, I can't shoot a basketball with my left hand. But for her, it's like, it's nothing.
The fine technique. No, that's awesome. And I think too, the way that you can kind of see people's passions is, I remember her when we went out to dinner and you guys came over to the house, like, Kelsey's quiet, a little shy, but then when she started talking about nails, it was like, boom, like talking, showing picture. It was like, okay, now we found what makes you kind of tick. And so that's exciting. I love to see that. So I think that's a good reminder to the listeners. Like, how old's Kelsey?
30. Oh man.
Oh boy. 30 something.
Yes. She was born in 87.
Okay. So 37.
Yes.
Okay. 37.
I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Trying to do math in my head.
It's all right.
It's too early.
It's all right. I asked you how old your wife was, and you're like, nah, this is a dangerous game. Like, I
know
don't remember what I'm supposed to say. I don't remember what she told me. How old did she turn this year? That's good. But no, I think that's a great, like, it doesn't matter how old you are, like, go pursue, you know, if the opportunity presents, continue to find what drives you.
Well, yeah, because Adam and I are both in our 40s, and we just started this thing. So, I
mean, it's kind of like, we only have so long here.
Yeah.
And it's not the end, but you can have purpose and impact and find the things that make you tick. I truly believe God's given us all gifts, talents, and abilities, and he's given us passions because he wants us to, you know, use them and you know, be successful in those things, but ultimately have joy. I don't think we're supposed to go through life just miserable.
Yeah.
And so if that's something that you're able to do and you want to pursue something, go pursue it. Like, I think that's in the pursuit may fail, but I think you learn so much, and then you get to look back and say, hey, I pursued it, it didn't work out, but at least I can not sit here and go, what if I did?
Yeah, there's no what ifs, there's no regrets.
Yeah.
You just
you're not going to regret trying something. Like, to try something, and then if it doesn't work, you go back and you say, man, at least I know now.
Yeah.
I think what's worse than, failure is that unknown. Like, what if I had done it? What if I had went all in? What if I learned and explored? And I think that's what I want. I talk about it in the book, but what I want my kids to see, a lot of is like, I want to try stuff. I want to do things. I want to not be afraid to fail. I want to, if I like it, I'm going to do it, and I don't care what other people say, because I want to, grow this or pursue it or find a thing.
Well, and it may inspire them to, if they see you doing it, it's going to inspire them to know that, hey, Dad wasn't afraid, so I can't be afraid to do the things that I love to do and want to do.
Right. That's such a cool part of it. And we don't get to see it, like, for me, like, I don't get to see that at 3 and 1. It's something that I'm gonna get to watch their mindset and how they're wired as they grow, and then as they get older, hopefully, you hope that they, take those things and they're impressed on them,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows in what they want to do.
Well, yeah, because right now at that age, you can kind of mold and control what they see and what they take in. It's when they get to be the teenagers and they get out in the world a little more, and those other influences start coming in, that you really hope that the work that you've put in now will continue on into the future.
Well, and that brings up a really good point. Like, there is a point where you don't have control anymore. Like, you can still parent, but it's really hard to discipline a kid when they're at college and they're on their own. You know what I mean? You're not driving up there to ground them. You know what I mean? Like, there's some things that you can do to discipline them, but it's not the same as when they're under your household. Once they become more independent. But one of our readings last week was in Job. In Job, the story of Job, like, an extremely faithful man of God, like, extremely blessed, wives, kids, tons of, sheep and land. And Satan basically said, like, well, he'll curse your name if you take this away. And so God was like, you can take all these things away, but you can't touch him. And then said, okay, you can, but spare his life. And Job stays devout to God throughout the thing and continues to praise him even through losing everything. But I'd known the story for a long time, but I'd never really focused on, like, the first paragraph of Job. It talks about everything he has, like how, blessed he is in wealth and this man of power. But then it talks about his kids for, like, one sentence. And it says his kids would, like, go out and party and, like, waste the, the things. And they weren't following, like, they weren't right with God.
Mm-hmm.
But what Job would do every morning was he would go and sacrifice at the altar and say to God, like, this is for my children, because I don't know what they're doing, and this is in case they've sinned or fallen away. And it was like, man, that's such a cool picture of, like, a dad, like, on behalf of his kids, continuing to, like, I think it looks different today, but I think the correlation would be, like, continuing to pray and teach, and try to, and asking God, like, that's what he was doing, asking God to spare his kids, even though they were living in this thing. And for us, that's continuing to pray that, like, God takes their heart and, like, molds it and shapes it, and that they have a hunger for him. But I just thought it was so cool that, like, one of the most righteous men, one of the most loved God so much that even when they took everything away, but what was he doing even when he had everything? He was focused on his kids. That verse didn't say that he went for his wife, or he went for his workers, or he went to go sacrifice for himself or ask for more blessings. He was, like, focused on, I don't know what my kids are doing, but I'm going to continue to, on their behalf, reach out and pray. And so I think that was a super cool, like, I underlined that and I was like, man, that's so cool. Because it is scary. Like we talk about, we want them to go out and be leaders and not have fear, but ultimately, like, I want to know that their eternity is good and that they love God. And so we talk, like, train a child up in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't stray from it. But that takes work on our part as parents, like praying over them and teaching them, and then praying and teaching ourselves so that we can, you know, it's a heavy burden to bear, but I don't understand why parents, a lot of times, like I've got a lot of kids in youth group that come to church by themselves that go to youth group because their parents think it's good, but their parents never come. I'm like, how can you think this is beneficial, but it doesn't apply to you? Like,
do as I say, not as I do.
Right. Yeah, you guys need to do this, but I'm not going to do it. It's like, that's a horrible example. In one, it can't be, you can't think it's that important if you're not worried about your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so it's an interesting model there, but I think super, super important. So sweet. Yeah. What you got this week? What's a win?
The Rams tonight plus 2.5.
Skull Vikings. We almost made it a full episode without football content.
Yeah. Let's see. We got that. All the books come in Thursday.
Yeah.
That's gonna be wild. Like, it's one thing to know that we put it out there, but when we actually have
the
copy
physical book
in your hand, you're gonna be like, I did this. Like, I had a hand in creating this. This is gonna be
that's one of those things that like Josh talked about in his sermon 2 weeks ago, was like you got to celebrate the wins, and that's something like I'm not super good at. Like, I'm just on to the next.
Yep.
Like, the books will come in and I'm immediately like, okay, now we got to start getting these. Now we got to get, you know. So I think it'll be fun to take a moment and be like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And just hoping that, you know, everything's good with them. But yeah, things are good. We're rolling. We got everything pretty much set. So once these come in, all you pre-order, we appreciate the love. We'll get those out to you. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, operation.dad.square-site. Or you can just find it through our Instagram or Facebook, so you don't have to remember that. But it'll be good, and then we'll start prepping and continue to grow this studio. And I think I'm most excited this year, the wins of being able to expand and get some guests on and get some other views, because y'all have listened to our voices for a year. So let's get you.
We've had three guests.
Yeah,
Mom, Kelsey.
That might be it.
Yeah.
2. Oh, Cody.
Oh, Cody and Blake at the Arnold.
Yeah, the Arnold. So 4. So yeah, hopefully we do some better numbers on the guests, so you don't have to hear us every week.
Yeah.
And for all you Adam lovers out there, you can shoot him a message and tell him to get back in here. Find a time for his boys.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do this year.
Yeah, he's got a big schedule. Yeah, I think if we talk about growth and push, like, since the podcast started, Adam's definitely been the one that's been pushed the most out of his comfort zone and has done the most with it, like in terms of, you know, taking on a new job and taking on a ministry and all that stuff. And he's in
travel dad now.
And now he's a travel dad.
Yeah.
So also you can send him some hate for that. So it'll be good. But that is we'll be back next week with episode 54.
Yep.
And we'll just keep rolling. So appreciate the listens, and remember your why.
Peace.